everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of the Insta Podcast 3.0. Here on the Insta Podcast, we strive to inspire everyone to choose the food that brings the good, as well as to dive into nutrition and dietetics community to know more about it. My name is Meng of DN121, your host today, and today we are all gathered here to talk about healthy eating, as what you've expected from a dietetics podcast, of course. But other than healthy eating, we are also here to talk about how to eat healthily on a budget. Hence the title of this podcast, Eating on a Dime. Happy Meals, Happy Wallet. In this episode, we will break down the importance of healthy eating, as well as to bring you tips and tricks on how to eat healthily whilst keeping on a budget. Alright, now that we have highlighted what this episode is all about, let us transition to our guest introduction. As you can see right here in this room are two of my co-hosts as well as our guests. First of all, let me introduce to you our amazing co-hosts, Jackie and Jyosheeka. Why don't you guys introduce yourself first? Why don't you start first, Jackie?
Okay, hi everyone, my name is Jackie and I'm currently a third year dietetics student in the same class as Khoon.
And I'm Jyosheeka, same as well, both of them, third year dietetics student, same class as them.
Alright, thank you so much. Now let me introduce to you, possibly the star of this episode. Let us give a warm welcome to our guest of honor, Miss Xinthia. Okay, Miss Xinthia, would you like to introduce a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Xinthia. I'm currently certified dietitian, also from IMU, and I am a general manager as well as a business associate at a dietetics resource company. So what we do there is we provide like food service management from let's say manpower recruitment all the way to recipe development and operations as well. And we also do corporate nutrition and events as well.
Ooh.
Yeah, so these are the types of services that we do provide. We are now currently coming up with our own recovery supplement.
Recovery supplement?
That is popular among the climbers right now because like we already have the community and we are actually pushing it out. So we have done the research and we have collaborated with one of your seniors. I don't know, is it Jean Ann?
Yeah, one of our classmates.
Yeah. Her research is actually
based on
yeah.
climbers. I've heard that.
She's doing it with us. So, I mean, we have already done it.
Okay.
So right now, we're in the process of like data processing.
Data processing.
Yeah. In fact, the results are out. It's just a matter of bringing it out to the market.
Bringing it out to the market right now. Wow, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Right, so thank you for joining us for this episode. Now with the introductions out of the way, let's get cracking on with the episode right now. Alright, so before we begin, I'd just like to hear from our co-hosts and our guests, like what experiences do you guys have facing about like budget healthy eats? It can be a good experience or a bad one, just anything that you can remember from the top of your head. So Jyosheeka, you want to share yours first?
For me, it's the balance of good and bad.
Okay.
So sometimes bad is like I try to attempt to budget healthy eat, but most of the time it doesn't really work well. But sometimes it does turn out well. So like example, when I have my lunch at the university cafeteria, so I try to like keep it like balanced, all the macronutrients in moderation, but at the same time keep it as low as possible for the price.
I see. I think as university students, we do have that problem where you're like trying to eat healthy and then trying to keep it as low of a price at the same time.
Yeah, so I think for my story, it's actually on the other end of the spectrum.
Oh, really?
Yep, about things being too expensive. So this is a few years ago, like before COVID that time. So it was actually the first time I heard a lot about poke bowls, how they are supposed to be more healthy, more nutritious than your normal meals. So I wanted to try that. But then I didn't really know how to order, so I just went up there. It's like, oh, can you recommend me something? And then he take. And then at the end, that bowl was 25 ringgit. This was before everything became expensive, so 25 was still a lot. So for me, that experience gave me the idea that, oh no, if I want to eat healthy, it's like, oh, very expensive. Yeah, so I think a lot of people also share that kind of idea. But after learning more about it, it's actually not true. There are ways to eat healthily on a cheaper budget. Yeah.
I see. Wait, I'm just curious, like, what is the contents of the poke bowl usually? Because 25 is like not a small amount for
Yeah.
a poke bowl.
Like it was quite a few years already, but I remember there was like shrimp and then salmon or something like that. Yeah.
He ticked all the expenses.
I was like, he said, like, oh, you want to try this? I was like, okay, sure. Yeah.
And that's how you got the 25. What about you, Miss? Do you have like, any experience that you have, like, in terms of like budget eating?
Okay, so like I can give like my perspectives in two ways. So the first one is as a student here at IMU. I remember back then the prices here at Taman Serai was relatively okay.
Mm.
And also it depends on what kind of foods you choose
Yeah.
to eat healthily.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time when you were a student, you will realize like a lot of times when you have to stay back, Taman Serai closes. So where are your options? Usually mama.
Yeah.
Right. So that is a challenge back then. That was a challenge back then. And when you want to go out with your friends after certain sports activities, mama.
Yeah.
Remember me, right?
Oh yeah, Mooney.
Yeah. Yeah. So right now as a working adult, based on my own experience, when I was working in a much more time-consuming job, like a full-time job, because right now I'm quite flexible.
I see.
I work right now. At that time, I didn't really have the time to do like meal preps or like cook for myself. So it was challenging because I also had to meet with my clients who are also outside. Depending on where are the restaurants also that they would be at. So it's quite tough, but at the end of the day, I just choose the foods based on my knowledge. So more fiber, less white rice. I can choose like other like brown rice to replace, like proteins, vegetables. Yeah.
I see. So it's kind of like with like being a like dietitian as well as being a student dietitian. It feels like it's kind of a curse. It's like you know what you know what foods are healthy,
Yeah.
but then when it comes to like choosing something that is applicable to the price, then you're like trying to juggle which one is healthier but comparatively it's cheaper, so it's like pertaining to your budget better. So I feel like it's kind of a struggle. Yeah, but
I guess for me, what I did was I restricted like certain amount in a day. I do not go beyond like 20 ringgit a day.
Oh.
I can do the same.
Yeah.
With that. And I feel like, I mean, sometimes your options are quite restricted, but at the same time, once you start to implement it over time, you're like flexible with it.
Yeah, and then you will realize like some food options are in the 20
Right,
ringgit range.
that's the thing.
And those are like the healthier options
I
if you realize.
see.
Yeah.
So it's like trying to like fit all within a 20 ringgit budget
For a day.
for a day.
I mean for a meal.
For
For a day that, because for me I go home and eat dinner with my family.
I see.
So that doesn't count.
okay.
But for like breakfast and lunch.
Eating out.
Yeah.
20 ringgit.
I mean in uni, but not going out. Yeah.
Keep that in mind, the audience. We'll be talking more about that later.
But if
yeah.
you know that you are going to spend 20 ringgit, I mean if you're going to eat out,
yes.
okay, then you can slightly bring the amount higher. Yeah.
So trying to be
Yeah.
flexible with the amount of money lah.
So you know that okay, at lunch I'm going out with my friends.
Okay.
So then you choose to spend that 20 ringgit just for lunch, and breakfast you bring from home, something like that. Yeah.
So it's more like a play between like which one you pick a poison, like when you want to spend more on, and then like that lah. Okay, that is interesting. Well, actually, we will be talking more about that. More on that later. But now I'm actually intrigued on discussing balanced eating because it is well known that eating a healthy diet is important for everyone, especially true for university students. So as university students, like due to the amount of assignments and all the deadlines they were trying to keep up, you tend to caught up like trying to eat something that is quick and easy, but not necessarily healthy. So like Miss Xinthia, when we're discussing about like a healthy diet, what do you view as a healthy and balanced diet?
A healthy and balanced diet.
Yes.
The normal answer would usually be looking at the suku supply. Yeah. But it really, because usually what I do is I look at the patient and I understand like what his or her environment is. You know, maybe that person is an athlete.
Yes.
Okay, their balanced meal would look completely different to a person that's not excelling as much.
Mhm.
Or maybe they don't have access to those certain foods as well. So being able to eat, let's say, white rice for them,
Okay.
white rice for them could be cheaper than other types of grains.
I yeah.
Then I would be okay with that as long as they keep it within the amount, like the correct amount that they should be
Correct
having.
amount that they should be having.
Yeah. So balanced eating, okay, definitely there needs to be carbs,
Mm-hmm.
protein,
Mm-hmm.
and as long as they have carbs, protein, healthy fats, and fiber, done.
Oh.
Yeah, just look at it this way.
Look at it this way.
Yeah.
So it's like not it's like less of the types that you choose, but rather like how you like put your carbs and then the healthy fats, all the protein in together.
I look at it as a whole. So of course I will tell them proteins wise, don't choose deep fried.
Mhm.
Try to choose like stewed or braised meats if they want. And if they can, perhaps in a week, okay, I usually won't encourage for them to eat meats as their main protein source. So sometimes they can mix between like tofu or like tempeh,
So it's like
yeah.
plant-based protein.
plant-based and animal-based, a mixture.
Mixture of it.
Yeah.
I see. That's interesting. Okay. What about the both of our co-hosts? Do you have anything you want to add on, or do you guys agree with what Miss Xinthia has said?
I think for me, like, completely agree, especially on Suku Spiral. Like, as like student dietitian, that's the first thing we learn. And
Yes.
whenever like we have to give advice to any like anyone, family members and things, we always go to our baseline. It's like, oh, Suku Spiral, that's it.
Because I remember last time when I graduated, and then I talked about Suku Sparu. Because I used to go to like companies and give talks.
Mhm.
So whenever I talk about Suku Sparu, they would know. Like, oh yes, I know about this. But then they don't practice it themselves.
As if we practice.
Exactly, right? So that's why I changed my way of thinking, right? And I
Okay.
changed my way of not to say understanding, but to advise these people like how to eat. So they will tell me like what are the options around them, and then what their pantry, what the foods are inside their pantry, and then I'll look at it and then I'll just like let them know like what they're eating. Just teach, like sort of teach them and then help them make informed decisions.
I
Yeah.
see. So it's less of like just saying, oh, you should eat Suku Separo, but trying to understand their environment and trying to incorporate their environment into their eating habits
Yes.
to help them.
And also understand like why they're eating that instead of the other thing. Because a lot of people they just say like, oh, you should eat salmon. But
Okay.
salmon is expensive
Yeah.
for every
Yes.
like it's quite expensive. Or cod fish like that. Yeah, these two have quite high percentage of omega-3, but not everyone can afford. Yeah.
Makes sense. It makes sense.
Because I did hear like students recommending these sorts of foods before.
Oh.
And then I noticed like that person is like in a low socioeconomy bracket. So like how are they going to afford that? Yeah. So the whole perception of like what we learn, how straightforward it is, like what we learn, does not apply in that kind of situation anymore.
I see. So
Yeah.
it comes down to like how like kind of like flexible are you in like giving them the choices based on their environments and also
Yeah.
whether they're able to afford it.
Yes.
Right? Oh, okay. So Jackie, do you want to add on anything, or do you like totally?
Yeah, I
agree with
mostly agree. Like it's just that like Suku Sawaro is a thing that you should try to follow, but we can't. It's not for every meal. So I think like I agree with the idea that having knowledge to understand is like, oh, what are you actually eating, and then like how does it affect you and all that. I think that's more for me. That's more like how to say it? It's like a healthy balanced diet is more of an idea and a target rather than a single diet that you have to follow. Yeah.
I like that thinking. That's
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
that's like Because you're right, it's like it's not like one thing, it's more like something that you try to achieve in going for the healthy diet.
Because if you think about it, right,
Yeah.
when it comes to someone that does physical activity, who's quite active, sugar in that sense is not something that they
Sure.
would avoid.
They would. Oh, okay.
So if you are someone that is relatively active and require that boost of energy, honey, you know, like sugary drinks, is actually beneficial for you. So it's all connected in a way. Yeah.
Connected. Oh, okay, no. That's very interesting, like hearing from the co-host as well as the guests. It's like there are different ways to tackle on what a healthy and balanced diet is. So now you might be wondering, like, what are the benefits to it, since we've talked a lot about like the healthy balance? And you are correct! No prize for getting it right though. But now we'll be discussing about the benefits of healthy eating. Now, okay, we always hear about the concept like, oh, eating a healthy diet is good for you, but what especially the benefits are? So, I would guess, so what do you have take in this, Miss Xinthia? Like, as a working dietitian, I'm pretty sure a lot of people, like even your relatives, will asking you question, oh, what's so good about eating this diet, huh? I eat every day, I also don't see the benefits.
What's so good about eating a healthy meal? Is it?
Yeah, because when they ask you for advice and then you give them the advice and they're like, yeah, no lah, I see from Facebook it says this is not good. So it's like sometimes we will be wondering like, what is the benefits to like healthy eating, especially like not just among us university students but for like the general public as well.
Okay. Healthy eating, and then let's talk about balanced eating and healthy eating. Okay, so for balanced eating, definitely there will be it will help in balancing our blood sugar levels, right? Because we all know that if you consume proteins and fats with your carbs and the amount is within the recommended amounts, it will definitely help us balance our blood sugar levels. It will not spike too high and then suddenly a very fast drop after that. So if they consume it in a balanced way, that will happen. So healthy eating, it really depends, because sometimes if you're talking about my relatives will only ask me questions like, how do I reduce my cholesterol levels? Then I will tell them, okay, your fats, you have to choose like better fats. Maybe unsaturated fats, monounsaturated fats over trans fats or saturated fats. I mean, for me, they usually will listen, and then that's it. Yeah. So we can't really control what these people are eating, but I will just educate them in this way. It also depends on what kinds of diseases or conditions they have. So different benefits, I would say, depends on what condition they have. So for example, cholesterol wise, and then I'll just mention like, oh, maybe if you do not control now, you can probably get stroke or things like that. Also depends on how close you are to that person as well. Because sometimes if you mention something along the lines of like death, stroke, all these things, they probably will not be happy as well. And then you have to switch another way of educating them. So maybe you can start by just letting them know what will happen if they do it, but in a more mild way. Like maybe, oh, your arteries are going to get clogged or something like that. Then they will ask you, oh, so what will happen after that? So then only you mention like stroke, but not straight away say stroke, death. because this was something that happened last time when I was in one of the hospital, like internship.
Oh, okay, we gotta listen to this.
There was this, I mean, one of my friends was educating like an auntie, and then I heard everything. It's like, oh, you're gonna get stroke and then die. And then the auntie's face straight away like was like so shocked and like a bit scared already.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So don't do that. Benefits, just educate according to what those diseases are. That's all. That's all I can think about for this question.
Okay.
Definitely benefits wise, yes, if you consume lower sodium, you know, your blood pressure will
Yeah.
be maintained, these things. But also when you realize when you come out, right, a lot of things like let's say blood pressure, blood cholesterol is also related to the genes, right?
Yeah,
So sometimes these people, their cholesterol levels are high, super high, but no matter what they do, you can't really bring it down because it's genetic related. Because I had this experience of working in a company, a wellness company. We do like blood tests. You know?
Okay.
So when we look through all the blood test reports, there are people who have very very high cholesterol levels, but their HDL cholesterol is also high. So the better one is also high. So for that, the intervention is different. Really. Yeah.
So it's like a case of they have high blood pressure, but their HDL cholesterol is
They have high cholesterol, high LDL cholesterol, but their HDL is also
high as well.
Yeah. So for that, what can you say? Miss, you probably have to change your fats into something healthier. But when you ask them, their diet is actually very, very good. And then they exercise as well. So then you're like, okay, what else can I say, right? Yeah. You will notice this kind of cases when they come up. So not everything is like straightforward. You have to analyze from different angles. Yeah.
I've never actually thought from that angle before. Because usually when we talk about like high blood pressure, we always assume like, oh, the LDL levels is gonna be high, and then the HDL levels is like, it's not gonna reach that level. But I see. So there are actually like real life scenarios of that. That is interesting. Okay, so co-host, do you have anything to share about this, or is there anything you want to add on?
Not really, I guess, but maybe perhaps like when talking about benefits, it's sometimes hard to let them understand because like it's a lot of this is more on prevention rather than you won't actively see something. Yeah, so for example, my father actually had high blood pressure.
Okay.
His blood pressure was higher. So like sometimes I would see that he drinks a lot of those soups, a lot of those gravies. He really likes those. So I would tell him it's like, oh, don't eat so much. And then it's like, oh, no difference. I was like, oh, okay. Actually, like if you keep doing that, your blood pressure will have problems, all that, those kind of things. So like he does listen a bit, but then he still sometimes do that. Yeah. So I think it's hard because they won't see the effect immediately. So you have to like constantly remind them about the benefits. It's like, or tell them it's like, oh, it's good for you in the future, and hope that they listen. Yeah.
I guess that's quite challenging, right? As children.
Yeah, it's like it's like oh, but don't do that. But then he just
It's like they let us study this, and then they don't want us to.
I know. Every time we have our family dinner, usually on Sundays we have family dinners with relatives, and then usually when they see me, they're like, "Ah boy, I know you're studying dietetics, but can we have one good dinner for one night?"
Really? You say that?
No, usually they say like, "Ayo." Usually when we order some food from outside, it's like it's like high in sodium or like high in all those stuff. They say, "Ah boy, I know we are eating outside food, so let us enjoy, okay? Don't lecture us. This one not healthy. This one not healthy." So usually they will like just tell me like, "I know you're studying dietetics, but leave it for next time." So I can understand where Jackie is coming from, in the sense that you want to educate your relatives, and yet they don't quite understand or try to reciprocate what you're trying to tell them. So it's quite a tussle. I get that. So do you have anything else to share, Jyosheeka? Or
No,
it's like
completely agree.
completely agree. Oh yeah, okay. So like now we've vaguely talked about like the benefits of healthy eating. So maybe we can also touch a little bit like, because we're university students, like what are some like macronutrients, like which food group that we should target as university students? So like should we focus more on like the carbs or more like the vegetables and proteins and all those stuff?
That's a very vague question. As students, which macronutrients you focus on? I guess every macronutrient you have to eat it in a balanced manner, isn't
Yeah.
it?
I
Yeah.
see. Yeah.
But maybe the types of
Types.
food would be a good discussion point. So like for example, maybe if you are what are the food choices here at Pandan Sungei for like carbs? Now, back then I had waffles and everything here.
Waffles.
Yeah, we still have
We
waffles.
still
We
have
still have
Yeah.
waffles.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then like because recently we do have an Indian store and then the choices that they give is actually quite a lot. Like just on the carbs alone they have like red rice?
Yeah.
I think Jyosheeka is more of a
that's good.
she
It's like-
she
There's
eats
like
a lot of
white
that, yeah.
rice, red rice, there's even biryani. I mean, I noticed usually a lot of people go for biryani because the way they present it and stuff. But yeah, I feel like at least over maybe last year and stuff, we can see a lot of like carb options.
So it's like not just white rice but also you have like the like what Jyosheeka said, red rice and then biryani and like it's actually quite like varied in terms of like the choices for carbs. Yeah.
Carbs. Red rice is good because of the antioxidants inside. Proteins. I would say just eat it in a balanced manner. There's no specific one unless you are someone that is really low in energy most of the time. Maybe you perhaps lack in vitamin B.
Okay.
Of course that will require testing.
Yes.
But vitamin B usually comes from like grain sources, nuts and seeds, these kind of things. So maybe that. Maybe it's more micronutrient specific for students because of energy levels, depletion, all these things. Of course, definitely macronutrient, especially carbs, would not be a problem here anymore because of the white choices of carbohydrates here. Perhaps selecting, like let's say roti canai, for example, it only has carb and then the fat, then a little bit of protein from the dal. That's all. So maybe that one we can sort of increase the percentage of the protein. The student themselves would have to be able to do that.
I see. So it's like at the end of the day, it's like try to eat as balanced meal as possible.
Usually what I will teach my client.
Okay.
Of course, this is not like there's no specific guideline that teaches us this, but it's my own. I teach this method to my own patient or clients. Like if they're eating like one fist of meat, okay, then they have to double this fist of meat for their vegetables. That's how I teach.
Oh. Okay. Get this, everyone. Exclusive right here, right now. So it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then like then what about the carbs? Is it like based on this fistful as well?
Yeah. So fist, then 2 of this will be vegetable.
So it's
Yeah, lah, suku.
so it's like the
Another way of
right?
explaining suku.
Oh.
I mean, most of the people here,
Yeah.
they have so many types of food here, so they can choose.
Yeah.
This suku separu thing probably will not be applicable in places like those kind of like public clinics, those kind of things. So it really depends for those kind of situations. But here you have the luxury to choose.
We do have that luxury. Okay, so like after hearing like what the guests and also like Miss Xinthia said, and also what Khoon said, we do want to implement some, especially the fist one. That one I've never thought, even though it's like it's just like suku separo, but explained a little bit better. Okay, so right now we'll take a short break. So when we come back, we'll delve into some misconceptions about healthy eating on a budget, and probably the most anticipated part, the part that you guys have been waiting, is to provide some tips and tricks on how to eat healthily within a budget. Stick around to find out. And welcome back! Now that was a good break, wasn't it? Okay, so now let's talk about misconceptions on budget eating. we asked our viewers actually on Instagram, like, what were some misconceptions about healthy eating on a budget? And most of y'all said that it was expensive, while a minority has stated that it's actually take a long time to prepare. So, Miss Xinthia, what do you have to say about these potential allegations? Okay, but allegations is crazy, but you get the point.
Okay. I'm trying to think of how to answer that. I think it depends, okay, on what they think is, what their budget is, like, what do they deem the price as expensive.
Because like everyone has their own budget, right?
Yeah.
I see. So it's like trying to see what your budget is and what you think it's.
Yeah, so maybe some people, okay, I'm gonna save up maybe 150 ringgit for this month.
Okay.
And then after that, what we can do is perhaps divide it by the amount of meals that we can have in a month. And you can already sort of project in a way like how many, I mean not project, but already think about how many meals you're going to have in a month, and then just divide, and then after that you come up with a number, then use that number to buy your groceries. So I feel like it's doable.
It's doable.
Yeah. Because that's what I do, especially now when I also have to cook for my family at night.
Okay.
So I do this method. I put a number, then I divide it in the amount of meals that I'm going to cook. Then I see, okay, let's say if I want to spend this much only on meals, so what kind of food can I buy?
Okay.
Then it will realize actually if you cook at home, it's going to be so much cheaper than eating outside.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's like when you're preparing like a budget stuff, like what usually do you factor in?
What do I factor in?
Like maybe priorities, or maybe for this month I want to prioritize on eating this type of food, or is there like the logic behind the budgeting?
I would say as long as my family is eating, then it's okay already. Because my parents, they usually skip breakfast.
Oh.
Okay.
Which is not good. Yes, and no matter how many types of food I put in front of them, I put like oats there, I put like fruits there, they just don't prepare it. They usually just rush out of home. They take convenient food instead. So let's say there's perhaps a bread they buy from Gardenia or whatever, they just take and then they go. Yeah, that's my parents. So nowadays, I wake up earlier and then I make like protein smoothies for them.
Wow.
So when I do the budgeting for this, right, it's amazing to see that after calculating for everything, for 5 days of protein, but basically my protein is Greek yogurt inside, so Greek yogurt smoothies inside. So 5 days of that in a week, it's like lesser than 100 ringgit. So you divide it by 4 people, it's almost like 5 ringgit per person, 5 ringgit plus per person.
Okay.
That's actually pretty
It's-
good
yeah.
already.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
In this economy, that's
you
pretty
go out
good.
and it's like 20 something.
Then I asked for their feedback, like what do they think after drinking this smoothie? They said it can sustain them for 4 hours, then it's good enough already. Because I put in like protein, Greek yogurt, and then banana, which is basically fiber fruits, and then for extra fiber, chia seeds, flax seeds.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's quite filling. Yeah.
4 hours or so, that's like.
Yeah.
That's like
I'm also surprised myself because I just recently tried this method of making it in big batches. Yeah. So I freeze the bananas overnight and then I do it in the morning. I blend it in the morning.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you have like a recipe that you can share? It's
Yeah.
like-
Follow my Instagram.
That's the secret to follow Miss Cynthia's Instagram. We'll put the handle right in the description there for you guys to follow. Alright, so we're talking about like tips on how to eat healthily on a budget. Do you have like one tip that you think that it's the most beneficial to our audience out there?
One tip. spend wisely because you will realize a lot of people don't spend their money wisely. Yeah. I tell you, when I was a student last time, I didn't really care about the money part. So sad to say this, but when I come out to work, I start creating like a Google sheet and track my expenses.
Oh.
Then you realize that a lot of things you don't need actually.
Yeah, you're wasting a lot of money on like
Yeah.
small things.
Yeah, like okay, Netflix is a need for me, but but it might not be a need for some. And then clothing, fashion, all this, right? You will realize it took up a lot of my expenses last time. Yeah. Then you will realize, oh, you can save a lot if you don't spend so much on other things.
It's like spending on the essentials, then you realize that there's actually like a big leeway to your budget on how you want to plan it.
Yeah.
Ah, that's interesting. Okay. What about you, Jyosheeka? You have like one tip that you can think of?
For me, I think it really depends on what your priority is.
Okay.
So let's say if someone who prioritizes like quality of the food, then most likely they wouldn't mind spending some money on it. But let's say if they really want to like keep their budget tight and stuff, then probably like example for me, I would do any means to just get what I need under the same budget.
So it's like trying to, from what I understand, is like if like willpower is strong enough, you try to get everything within the budget, but at the same time you're still achieving that healthy eating in a way. Okay.
But at the same time, really always depends on what your priority is.
Priorities.
So I mean, from what I see, commonly university students budget, but maybe once you go out to the working field, could be your priority is like quality over the money and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Jackie? Do you have like one burning tip that you want to share?
Not
Burning tip sounds wrong. I apologize, it sounds so wrong.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, not really. I think just trying to understand like where you're spending your money on. Because for me, I guess one thing that I was like, I always thought the fruits in Pandan Serai were expensive, even though they weren't actually. But then like I was thinking, I still have to spend like 2.5 ringgit or 3 ringgit to get fruits because like fruits are healthy. It's like I have to spend that money in order to eat that fruits. But then I realized every day I come to school, I spend 4 ringgit on the coffee. Yeah. So it's like when I think about it, it's like, actually, if I save that coffee, because let's be honest, like some people need coffee, but then it's not every day, right?
Yeah.
So like sometimes like you don't actually need that coffee, you save that money and you put it on the fruits. Yeah, so trying to understand like how you're spending your money and then like finding places that actually I can use this money better, that kind of idea. Yeah.
So it's like spending the money on other areas that you know is gonna bring you the health benefits.
Yeah, and depends on, I mean, as university students, our budgets are limited.
Yeah.
So it's about like prioritizing. Yeah. So it's like, do you think this is important enough? If you have extra money, do you want to spend it on this or something like that? Yeah.
I see. Okay. Thank you so much for the tips and ideas. I really would try to implement them in the future. So for the audience out there, comment below what tip do you think is helpful for people to trying to achieve like eating healthily on a budget? I want to see your comments right down below. Okay, so now that we are almost towards the end of the podcast, I just want to ask our guests and also co-hosts like, what are some take-home messages that you can provide to our audience out there? Just like a short summary, or like what have you guys learned throughout this podcast episode?
What have you learned?
We should go for the co-host first. Yeah.
This sounds like a after class lecture.
Your aha moment.
What did you learn
That
today?
sounds very familiar.
Yeah.
Wait, did she use the same?
The
Oh my god.
After every CBL, what's your aha?
I think for me, it's nice to get to know a perspective of a dietitian on like budget eating and stuff. Because usually everyone's always like, nah, healthy eating you can't really budget on that because everything's so expensive in order to be healthy. But if you really sit down and think of ways to cut down your money for it, there are like a lot of ways you can actually do it. Like not just from spending, not just what you take out for money, but also like how you do like manage things. So let's say example like okay, like the frozen bananas thing. So let's say if it's going to go to waste, why throw it when you can use it for something else?
Yeah.
So it's like how you manage things and stuff. That's my aha moment.
Alright.
The aha
Okay,
moment.
what's your aha moment?
Something that I just learned. But actually for me, I think like overall throughout our conversation, like my idea is that the idea of healthy eating is expensive is not entirely true. There are ways to save on the money, and like trying to listen when the audience listen to us talk, hopefully that gives you a bit of idea on like what are the ways that you specifically can choose, like how can you eat healthy or how can you save some money in order to eat healthier. So I think like a main thing is trying to understand yourself, your environment and all that, and then see what applies to you the best.
Yeah, that makes sense. So about you, Miss Xinthia?
Can I just say whatever they're saying is whatever I also thinking?
Oh yeah. I fully agree with what our co-host has mentioned.
Yeah, because just now when she mentioned the prioritizing part, right? It also applies when you're working outside and you're talking to your clients as well. Because sometimes if you talk to them about, okay, it depends on three things like price, taste, and also whether they see health as something important or not. So so you see, if someone prioritizes price, okay, they have to sacrifice on probably the nutrition part, especially if let's say, okay, I can't really say that as well. So for price and taste, sometimes taste, right, if they prioritize taste, you will realize that those that taste like quite good, especially deep fried stuff, all these things, right?
Okay.
Okay, you know what, scrap that out. But what I'm trying to say is, you will realize, like maybe fine dining, all these things which are quite expensive, maybe they taste better, but then the health, like the healthy part might not be, I mean it might not be healthy, because sometimes they use a lot of butter in their cooking, especially fine dining, right?
Yeah.
So taste also they prioritize. So sometimes they like to eat pisang goreng, all these things. Yeah. Then the health there also they sacrifice. So I think that as long as the person knows how and when to eat those foods, it's okay if they are eating these types of foods. If you get what I'm saying. So basically what I'm trying to say is, you cannot directly tell a person, hey, pisang goreng is bad, don't eat.
Okay.
You can perhaps work around it, like let's say, okay, if you're going to choose pisang goreng, what are you going to do? Like what other types of foods are you going to eat next? Or what are you going to choose for lunch or dinner if you're eating pisang goreng for your snack, something like that. You cannot focus on just saying the negative part already, because they enjoy it and it's gonna be quite tough for certain people to remove what they like also from their diet.
Yeah. Thing is like if you're trying to remove what they like, then they might be not as acceptive of the diet that you probably give. So it's like, so in the end it's also like trying to have what they want as well as trying to give them a balanced diet at the same time.
Yeah, so budget eating, like prioritization and knowing how to track your finances, very important.
Very important.
Yes. Now you can really fill up certain like expenses columns for your sheet, for your like Google Sheets also. On your Google Sheet, try to see where your spendings are going to.
I see.
And if you want to eat healthily, put more like
put more budget on the food as well.
Or that's for people that cannot meal prep. Meaning that they have to rely on like
outside food.
Poke bowl, all these foods. Yeah. But if you're someone who can meal prep, definitely your budget can be way lower because you can cook yourself and the food is much cheaper if you cook it yourself. Like you see protein, not necessarily you have to buy chicken or meat, right? Or like other meat. You can eat tofu also. Tofu is quite cheap. And then beans, like maybe edamame, it's frozen edamame, you just put it in the microwave, heat it up, and then you can eat already. Right? So for people who are eating out, and want to eat healthy, then higher budget. That is definite. So the myth of people saying healthy eating is expensive, it can be if you're going to eat at places like a grains. Have you heard before? Paper fish, a grains, La Juiceria. Yeah, all this quite expensive, no doubt. But of course, when you compare with Kapfan, that you cannot.
Yeah.
Right?
Of course.
Yeah, then of course these people will be saying it's expensive because if they compare it between these two types, it's totally not comparable.
It's
Yeah.
like two different things at the
Yeah.
end of the day. Okay, so thank you for the insights from our co-host as well as Miss Xinthia. So before we sign off, do check us out on our social media. Details are attached down below. So thank you for tuning into our podcast today and check out our previous episodes if you are interested. So this is the Insta Podcast, inspiring everyone to choose the food that brings the goods. Bye bye.
Bye.